Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Harry Lasanisiris, and this is my YouTube channel, grecochess. I haven't posted videos for the last few days because I was following the grecochess tournament, and no game has been completed the last few days, except for a few games that ended with timeouts, meaning that the one of the players could not move in the 3 days that they had the right to do so, and thus lost a game by default. And while we're still waiting for games to be completed so I can comment on them and describe them, first of all, let's show you how things are going. First of all, let's see what happened in the tournament I had announced. Where, tournament organized by one of my subscribers, and this is a tournament Underwater Moonlight, the Nine Moons tournament. Let's see how things are going. We need 243 players to register. Until now, have 79. That includes myself. There is a day of starting November 11th, and I'm not sure if the tournament will wait for the 243 players or will start on November 11th. I'm going to keep you posted on how things are going. In the meantime, I would like to encourage you to please go to this tournament and register. It's going to be a fantastic one. But let's go now to my tournament, which is the Greco chess. Let's see how things are going. Until now, out of the 48 games of the first round, 37 have been completed and only 11 remain. And let's see how things are going uh, group by group. Group 1, we have Maxim Govorukha that has 4 wins in 4 games. And the only person that can challenge Maxim Govorukha is Hunting Achievements. But Hunting Achievements has not played any move, has taken vacation time, and we're going to see if Hunting Achievements is serious about it or not, and if this person will challenge Maxim Govorukha. Other than that, Maxim is the favorite. Group 2. Here we have two players that are still fighting for advancing. Just to tell you, 16 players have registered. They are divided into 4 groups of 4, and from every group, one person advances. So we said that from group 1, it's either Maxim Govorukha, who has 4 wins in 4 games, or perhaps Hunting Achievements, who has not yet started playing, is using vacation time. And let's say it will happen once Hunting Achievements vacation time is over. This will be in most 6 more weeks from now. Group 2, we said that it's between Barak 7 and MGC 89. They have defeated all their opponents. They have 4 wins each of them, and they are playing now the 2 last games. Let's see what is going to happen with them. Group 3, where I participate, we have UV 1415 that has timed out all the games, and Abu Talebe that has timed out 3 out of the 6 games and has beaten UV 1415 by default. Until now, the line from the Netherlands has 4 wins in 4 games, and then myself, the Harry from Greece, I have 3 wins in 3 games. And it's going to be between the line and myself to see who is going to advance. And Group 4, it's over. My skin with 6 wins in 6 games has advanced. Winner of each group advances, meaning the one with the most points. If there is a tie, there is a tie-breaking category where the player with the most tie-breaking points advances. Otherwise, the both 2 or 3 or whoever many players are tied will advance. But let's go back now to playing against the bots and let's see what happened. This is the continuation. You might remember that some time ago he started playing against the bots, starting from the weakest and going until I would first lose a game. I ended up defeating all the 15 beginner bots twice, both with white and with black. In the intermediates, let's see again, I defeated the first 6 bots twice each of them, once with white and once with black. And then I faced Emir from Turkey, whom I defeated with the white pieces but lost with the black. I'm starting now a new series called The Revenge Against the Bots, where I'm going to see how far I can go starting from a beer with the black pieces. The rules are the same. If I win, I advance, meaning if I have the white pieces, I play against the same bot with the black, and if I'm the black and I win, I continue the next bot with the white pieces. If there is a draw, I have to face again the same bot with the same colors until there is a decisive result. And let's see what's going to happen now. Last time I easily defeated Emir with the white pieces, but got careless with the black, and Emir ended up having a two-move mating combination, and I lost. That was 2.5 months ago, July 10th, if I'm correct. And now let's see how far I can go. But as we start, you're going to see on your screen that Maxim is giving me a message. Merhaba, my kids think I'm a grandmaster. Don't tell them otherwise. I'm not going to tell them otherwise. I hope I can show otherwise, but better not be so confident like last time. And let's begin the game. Maxim starts with the red opening. The knight goes to f3, and I'm going to throw my pawn to d5. One pawn in the center. Ideally, you want both pawns in the center, and Emir copies me pawn to d4, and I'm going to copy Emir knight to f6. Pawn to c4 for Emir. Supposedly he's sacrificing a pawn. That's not true. If I take it, then pawn goes to e3, and then I lose control of the center. I'm not going to do it. Instead, I'm going to send my pawn to c6. Emir, pawn to e3, exactly as mentioned. If I had taken the pawn, bishop goes here, and Emir's bishop has a very nice position. And myself, I've lost some control of the center. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to pin Emir's knight. Bishop goes to g4. Emir challenges. I've got I've got a good feeling about this. Well, Emir, I'm not going to leave my bishop on g4, so you can grab it. My bishop will go back to h5, so I can continue the pin. Pawn to g4 for Emir. He continues trying to challenge the bishop. Of course, now there's no pin any longer. I'm going to save the bishop. It has a square on g6. The other choice is knight takes to g4. And in this case, I can get 2 pawns for the knight. And Maxim's knight on f3 is still pinned, but there's not really any follow-up. He'll just put his bishop on e2 and destroy the pin. That's why my bishop goes to g6. Pawn goes to g5 for Emir, attacks my knight on f6. And of course, I'm not going to let Emir take it. While Emir is playing these moves and attacking my bishop and my knight, he's weakening his king side, which means that if he decides to castle on the king side, his king will be very, very weak. Most likely he'll not do so, but he has deprived himself of one possibility. My knight goes to e4, it's in the center. Knight to d2 for Emir. And what I'm going to do now is, assuming that Emir allows me, uh, I'm going to move the pawn to e6, clearly defend the pawn on d5, but also threaten the pawn on g4. Emir decides to send the queen to b3. This means that even if I move my bishop on h5, there's no pin any longer. He threatens my pawn on b7, and if he can get it, then also my rook on a8 is in danger. So I'm not going to allow Emir to take my pawn, because more than a pawn is a rook in danger. So I'm going to move my queen to c7. Okay, let's get started, he says. And how will he get started? He takes the pawn on d5. I'm going to take it back. with my pawn on e6. Rook goes to g1 for Emir. And I'm going now to, what can I do? I have many things to do. If I send my bishop to h5, then the knight on f3 is not pinned any longer. The rook on g1 also avoids the possibility of my bishop attacking it. What would happen if I took the knight on d2? First of all, I give more space to the bishop at c1 that I don't like. If he takes it back with a knight, then my queen can go to h2 and attack the rook on g1, but the rook will move. I'm not sure what can I get out of that. I think the best thing is develop my bishop and send my bishop to where the two cases e7 or d6. E7 has the advantage that attacks the pawn on g5 twice, but then the pawn can go to g4 and to go from h3 to h4 and doesn't give me anything. So let's move my bishop to d6. Knight goes to h4 for Emir, threatens my bishop on g5 or g6, but if he takes it, I take with the pawn from h7, and by doing so, I also threaten the pawn on h3. Of course, now the bishop defends it. Let's see, what can I do? I have some options. I could take the pawn on f2 with my knight. I lose my knight, but then that is a big question. What? By then, I cannot even check for g3. The rook will take it. Should they do anything? Like if I take the knight on d2, then he must take it, otherwise, because I'm threatening the queen. My bishop can go to e4. He must take with the bishop. But to e4, I have a good chance to threaten the queen. I'm going to do it because look what happens. If I let the exchange, then knight on d2 captures my knight on e4, and then I can only take it back with the pawn that opens the diagonal for the queen. I don't want this to happen, so I'm going to take the knight on d2. Takes the bishop as I was expecting. Now my bishop will go to e4. Yes, he attacks it. And now what I'm going to do is, uh, if I check from g3, cannot take it to the rook because then I take it with the queen. I'm going to take the knight on h4. Let's see what will happen once I check here. I'm going to check on g3. I'm thinking to take the knight, and he takes my bishop, doubles his pawns, which is good for me. And then my queen on d2 can threaten. First of all, he cannot castle after he moved the king, so I don't have to worry about a long casting. h2, the rook. Where can the rook go? Not too many squares can go. Let me take the knight. Yes, he took it, and I'm going to. This is going well for me, he says. Let's see how well it's going. I don't want to move my queen. That's why I was doing this, James. If I take the pawn, I open the diagonal for the queen. I don't want, but if they send the queen to h2, he'll take my pawn here. Let's see. My queen will go to h2 and threaten the rook. Where can the rook go? Can go to g2. I don't want this to happen. What they want to do now is, what I wish I could do, of course, is if I could put my queen on f3 to check, but that's not going to be easy. I'm going to castle, so if I move my knight, then my rook is not in danger. He attacks my bishop. My rook with a bishop on before, and I cannot afford to lose my rook. Rook goes to, here goes to e8. He doesn't take my pawn, instead he blocks my path, so the queen cannot go to h2 any longer. My knight will go, oh no, here if I send it, there's a bishop here on f1 that can take my knight. What can I do now? Have to be careful not put my queen on e7 and lose it. If I put on e8, this pawn is lost. Maybe it's worthwhile too, because if I lose or my b pawn goes to a6 from b7, then I can open a line to attack the queen. I'm going to send my knight on a6. Instead of taking it, he sends his bishop on d6, attacks my queen. What I was thinking is, if my queen goes to a5 and he takes my pawn, then queen can go to e1 and check, and it's a very dangerous check. I'm going to play like that and threaten a check from e1 if he allows it. Yep, here we are. Check from e1. I wish I could check from here, but what's happening is that my knight will be attacked twice with the before and defended only once by the queen. Let me take the rook here. He will take my knight most likely. Nope, instead what he wants to do is send the pawn to g6 and have a very dangerous threat. Don't want this check. Ah, it's not just a check, it's the queen that will check. It's really very dangerous. That's why I'm going to take the pawn. If I do anything else, he can check with the queen on f7. Even if he checks with the pawn, then my rook is lost. So I'm going to grab the pawn. Now the other pawn advances. What will happen if I take the pawn? What is his follow-up? Can he check with the bishop? Because my king is in a light square. Be careful. So if his bishop could check, then the rook will take my queen. I don't want that to happen. Yes, he took my pawn on here on g6. Of course, I have a huge advantage materially, but unfortunately, uh, I'm not doing well. Yeah, yeah, there is a threat of checkmate. Next move, his queen he goes to g7 and it's a checkmate. I must stop this at all costs. If I do anything else, like for example, grab the bishop, next move, he checkmates me. How do I stop it? Bishop goes to f6. I don't see any other way. He takes it. Can I take the rook safely? And now the advantage is he doesn't have a rook here. I don't have to worry about the bishop checking me. I'm going to take the rook and I have a huge material advantage, but his attack is very dangerous. What else can I do? Let's see if he has any mating chance. Well, he took my knight. I expected this to happen. I'm going to take the pawn here. Not only grabbing a pawn, but also it is that my queen now is has more space to go. Bishop goes to to d3 and threatens queen. Yes, queen to h7 is mate. So I must check no matter what. And I only have one check from a4. Of course, you can block with if I send the pawn to a5. I have this option. If I do so, however, bishop goes to uh, e5 and threatens the check with the other bishop. Here there's a problem. If I check from a5, bishop goes to b7, and then I have double threat, both the threat of the mate and the threat of the losing my queen. That's why the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to push the pawn to f5. Let's see if he'll put his, yes, exactly, he put his bishop on e5, threatening a mate. How can I stop it? I can check with my queen, but what happens after that? I wish I could exchange queens, by the way. Let's check here. Now he cannot put his bishop on b4 to threaten my queen. Checking from a5. I must find ways to check. Ideally, if only I could check from b6 and exchange queens, that would be wonderful, but I don't see this option. If I could place my queen anywhere in this diagonal, check again. I need to be very careful. I must check or find some way to stop the mate on g7. I don't see easy way to do it. Ideally, if we exchange queens, I'm winning. I have lots of extra material. You see here the +5. My material is +5 pawns. Let's check from a1. Bishop blocks the check. Problem is I don't see any other check. How can you stop the mate? If king goes to f8, then again there's check mate on f7. I can block it for one move if I move. If I make a stupid check, like queen takes the bishop on b1. What if I put my rook on e7? This only postpones it by one move. Anyway, you can control the g7 square. Not that I can see. Let's see, we're going to think any way to stop the mate because I have +5 material. My material advantage is enormous, but what good is it to be ahead in material when your opponent is going to mate you? And I think at most I can stop for 2 moves by taking the bishop on b1 and by sending my rook on e7. Anything else? I was thinking of a desperate case. What if the queen would take the pawn on b2? King will take it because the and still I'll be ahead in my no, I'll be behind, but not by too much. And then my rook will go to b8 and pin the queen, but unfortunately there's a bishop that will take my queen. Is it time to resign or not? My king can only go to f8. It's made whether it stays on g8 or goes to f8. And it seems that Emir is going to defeat me for second time in a row. Will be this PK the case? What can we do? Let's take all legal moves one after the other. If any of the pawn moves, it doesn't help at all. If the rook on e8 can only go to e7 to postpone it by just one move. The rook on a8 can go b8, c8, d8, nothing. My king f8, nothing. The queen, where can it go? It can check from b8, b7, but nothing. It can go to a7, a6, a5, a4, a3, again nothing. And there is only one desperate tactic that will only postpone the mate. It's not going to give me the game. Queen goes to b7 check. Takes the king. Now the queen is pinned. Now he cannot checkmate me because the queen is pinned. And now I'm left with a rook against queen and king. And if I do nothing, meaning if I push any of my pawns hoping to promote, all that will happen is that the bishop will go again to e5, not even stop my pawn, and then threaten checkmate. I can postpone a little bit the checkmate by taking the bishop, but then he'll take my rook. Yep. I was afraid, and now let's see if there is any desperate chance to promote a pawn. I doubt, but you never know. Stalemate, forget it with all these pawns. If I put my knight on, actually my king on a5 or a6, what's going to happen is my king is stuck there. Let's put it on f6. What else can I do? The pawn is going to get promoted from h4, h5. Pawn goes to e5. Let's see what we can do. We'll desperately try to see what can we do. Queen goes to e8. Send the pawn to a4. I hope you realize that by now the game is completely hopeless. King goes to g6, and later we'll do the analysis to see what went wrong. I cannot put my king on h5. It's made on g5. I put it here. My king is blocked. Any miracle of threefold repetition? cannot even threaten the pawn because queen checkmates here. Let's send the pawn here. 3-3. Any chance my king might assist the pawn on a3? In my dreams. My undefeated streak continues, unfortunately, at least with black, because with white, I destroyed you. Don't forget that. And now I know it could. No, I have two squares. In E1, it's mate. In D1, let's. Yep. Emir won by checkmate. Emir, congratulations. You defeated me with black pieces for the second time. So there is no revenge for me, but let's look at the review. Let's see how things went. Steady effort pays off, says Kasparov, as you saw here, but and the coach says that you built a nice advantage before your opponent came back. Yes, look at it, the opponents with a big advantage. Let's see, 85.2 accuracy for Emir, 78.2 for me, 2100 for Emir. Wow, that's way above mine. 1550 for me, that is a little bit below my actual rating. And let's see how things went move by move. I had one blunder, one miss, 5 mistakes. Let's do the review piece by piece. Book movement number 1, book for me. Let's see. The first 3 moves from each of us are book moves. 4, 5 moves, 6 moves were played according to the book. And Emir has a small advantage of 0.42. Move number 7, mistakes is a computer. The better move was to develop a knight and attack the center. My knight is in danger. Yes, I play the best move. Knight to d2. I have a small advantage of 0.40. Pawn to e6, the best. Queen to b3 and queen to c7. The computer would rather have me sacrifice the pawn and send my knight to d7. Yep, let's go back. Somehow accidentally I pushed too many moves ahead. This we played, this he played. Pawn, yes. Queen to b3, queen to c7. Here we are. Now pawn takes on d5. I take it back. And my advantage is 0.60. Not very big, but at least I'm ahead. Rook to g1. This is a mistake. Bishop to d6. What I should have done is pushed my pawn to a5. This move might cause trouble for you, and it did. In fact, it did. Knight to h5, great. Yes, it's the best move that I played. Bishop to e4 is a mistake for the computer. Would rather have exchanged the queens. Yes, if we exchange queens, then I wouldn't have to worry about mating with queens. Pawn to f3, yes, 0.71, Mir is ahead. Not a good move. I'd rather have saved the bishop. So now Emir's advantage becomes large, 237. I take the knight. Take. Castle. Now Emir's ahead. Oh, this was not a good move. 0.98 is Emir's advantage. Look, yes. Pawn. Knight to a6, a bad move. This is a computer. A blunder. In fact, my only blunder. What should I have done? Queen goes back to d8 and threatens the pawn on g4. I was worried about my pawn on b7. Maybe put too much emphasis on that. Queen check is ready for a check. And queen to b7 for Emir is a blunder. And now I'm ahead by 3.16. But how did I blow it? Queen here, check. And this, it was a mistake. I should have checked from c7. But still I'm ahead, 1.70. Here, pawn. I take it. I'm 2.81 ahead after I took this pawn. That was a big mistake. I'm still ahead 169. Rook goes to g6. And yes, bishop to f6, a great move. You may remember I was worried about a check on g7 and I stopped it. Rook takes, I take it. I'm ahead by 174. Bishop to a6. Inaccuracy, I'm ahead by 246. And yeah, it only took one move to go from winning to losing. My queen takes a pawn on a7. What should I have done? I should have put my queen on g1. It controls the g file, and then all these mates that came later, or these mate threats and the mates, would not have happened. And now the bishop attacks, queen checks, try to postpone everything. Oh, imagine the best move according to the computer is queen goes to c4 and I lose my queen. This by blocking the light color bishop, I knew that I stopped that threat, but I would create a new threat with the dark color bishop. Yes. Queen checks. See how much I can check. Queen checks. Yes. Queen checks. Yes, that's the best move. But after the reply by the bishop, there's not too much I can do. Imagine that the queen takes a pawn is the best move. A move where I lose my queen is the best move. Oh yeah. That is a lot. Yes, this combination I found is a good combination, but it only postpones the mate. It doesn't make you win the game. Yes, I played the best moves until now, but I'm still down 725. They play excellent moves. The best is that. You see, I'm playing either the best moves or excellent moves. Play something better, like what? Like put my king on h6 and queen goes to g5, king goes h7, and it's a matter of time until the mate. Now, Emir's advance becomes 8.60. Yes, my king to the wrong place. If it had gone to g2, it would have been a mate instead of two moves. No, 8.58. And here, that is mate. So, my attempt to get revenge against the bots unfortunately comes to a very tragic early end. The first game I played against Emir with the black pieces was again a disaster. Lessons to learn for the future. When you play with strong opponents, and really Emir played a very strong game, in spite of his rating being much lower, he played for a rating of 2100. Then you really need to think many moves ahead. I should have taken more time, but if I did so, this video would have lasted much longer. This concludes my attempt to get revenge of the bots, a very early ending. Once we have more games from the Greco chess tournament, I'm going to show you. In the meantime, there are some other tournaments I'm planning to attend, and once they are finished, I'm going to play against them. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching it. Hope you had some fun. If you have not subscribed, so please click the subscribe button to do so. I'm Harry Lasaniziris. This is the grecochess YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.